Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Woll, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. 1 minute, your world is normal. The next, it's gone. A flood, a fire, a crime scene. Your home shattered. Your business shut down. Your life on pause. But in the darkest hour, when chaos knocks at your door, that's when Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County shows up. Not just a company, not just a cleanup crew, but neighbors, parents, coaches, locals who care. Drake and his team aren't just restoring properties. They're restoring peace, restoring dignity, restoring lives. So when your worst day arrives, call the oh no guy who becomes your thank God guy. Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County. Locally owned, nationally known, unshakably trusted. From devastation to restoration. Serve Pro, Northwest Lake County. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I'm recording here at Agora. Shout out to Agora for letting us record here. I am really excited today because it's been a long time coming. We have a guest who's been on before, but now our new mayor. This is Elizabeth Davies. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. and congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're entering a new era for Grayslake. Rhett, who we are very fond of, was the mayor for the last 16 years. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so how do you feel about this? You're the only mayor we've had the new mayor after 16 years.
Oh, well, I'm excited, really. I'm very excited to step up to serve. I have been honored to be a part of the board since Rhett has been, mayor and leading the town and leading it in a wonderful direction and in a great way. So I've been very excited to learn underneath him, to really kind of understand all the different aspects of, running a municipality. But I'm also really excited to kind of take the reins. 16 years of the responsibility of mayor is a long time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And when you care in the amount and in the way that he does, because I've gotten to see him as a mayor, he is, incredibly sharp, really good at policy, administration, all of those things. But I think what is really behind him is just like such a deep love for town and for people. So seeing that in him, knowing that that's something that I want to continue, but also knowing the responsibility of that, for 16 years, I wish him well as he, is, ready to move on to another chapter of life.
I wonder if it's going to be weird for him, like, not to be the mayor, right? After that long, it's kind of like it's part of your identity, I guess, at that point too, right?
I think it takes you a little while to get used to people seeing you in that role. Like even now is like after like being elected, people are like, oh, Miss Mayor, or, Mrs. Mayor, good to see you. And I'm at first it's a little bit hard to like kind of take that, so right. It takes a little while, I think, to get used to it, so I've been saying, Mayor-elect, right? But that will, right. I guess, see soon enough that
as
I will
May 6, 2025.
Yeah. And then, Brian has loved, I think just about everybody that's seen him in like the last like 2 weeks or so has like, the first gentleman of Grayslake. So I think that these roles could take some time to get used to. So I think for him, getting used to it, and then I think stepping down obviously will be a change. But the good thing is, Rhett's not leaving town. He's still like invested in town, and he's still available to chat with about different issues. And I've actually really appreciated the offer from a lot of different people in town that are invested, and ex-mayors and people that still care and want to see it shepherded well. And for me, as a leader, like taking those great voices into consideration is a really important piece. You know, we all have a desire to make Grayslake the best place it can be. Okay. And so I have a lot of respect for people who have served it and served it well, and am always open to your thoughts on those things.
Yeah. Okay, so for people that don't know, how long were you a trustee for?
I was a trustee for 10 years.
Oh my gosh. So you're right in the thick of things for the last 10 years.
Yes. I'm not 100% sure, I can't speak to it, but like in like the modern kind of era here of Grayslake, like I will start office with more experience than any other mayor, probably in Grayslake history, but at least certainly in our modern history. And I think that's a real value. When an organization is run well, like the Village of Grayslake is, it's important, I think, that somebody that leads them has a really good sense of what has made us successful. Right. So I think that is something that I can bring to the table as mayor, and, also that level of caring deeply about our residents and the success of our town.
Well, it shows, just so you know. Okay, so I want to know, like, when you were sitting there and, Rhett's not going to, continue to be mayor, like, do you remember the moment that you were like, I think I want to be mayor?
Okay, well, I guess I would say that there wasn't like a particular necessarily moment, right, that really led me to be like, oh my goodness, like this is something that I definitely want to do. But I think it's something that kind of grew over years of of service, right? Seeing how well and the village is run and being so passionate about that. When Rhett Taylor announced that, he wasn't going to be running again, it was something that I really felt that it was important that strong leadership continued. And I do feel like I had a sense of like, okay, I understand those pieces that have made us successful. And then also just with like my life and where I've been connected and how I've been able to be a part of the community, I felt like I understood like those pieces that made us special, right? So, our historic downtown, all of our events, our ribbon cuttings, our small businesses, like things I'm so passionate about and really want to see us to be successful and to continue, right?
Absolutely.
Anytime you step up into this role, it's a really vulnerable thing,
All eyes on you, right?
Yeah, and it's also, a good amount of work, right? So you don't enter into it lightly. Like, I do work full time. I have, 3 really busy kids. But I do think that it's important that the person that takes this over does it in a way that is really passionate about those things that has made us successful. And, I did have moments when I was, considering it there at the very beginning where I was like, okay, this is a lot. But also felt that it was really important to have women to step up into these spaces to lead and want to be a great example to other women that want to have their voice heard and add to the conversation. And so I think all of those really pieces, like my passion for the town, my experience, just the general love I have, and just, the desire to serve, right? So I think it was a gradual build here.
Right. And I love what you said because you used the word passion, and I don't think anybody understands, or a lot of people don't understand, the responsibility that you're taking on, but no one in their right mind would do this without a huge passion to see our town move forward even further, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is something that for me, just to see the success and really how can we continue to build upon that. And just want to see that ship keep going and us to keep progressing, right?
We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano. And Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people. Okay, so I'm sure that on the campaign trail that you got to meet a lot of people, and see. I saw you like walking around my neighborhood. It was great to see you. But you get to meet all of these new people, and I'm sure that you probably learned a lot of different insights from people that may have surprised you or but what was one of the most what is the importance to residents that you found?
Yeah, I absolutely love knocking and talking to people in town. It really is just an amazing opportunity to really connect and understand what residents want, what the issues are. And I know that I'm a better representative because of that, so that is something I always look forward to doing. And I have people along the stop who I'm excited to see and get to, catch up with and get to just talk Grayslake, which I love. And I always tease and say, well, thank you for chatting with me because now my family doesn't have to listen to me. talk about all these specifics. So, I could get into some long-winded things, but also just a lot of information. I love teaching people about how awesome our village is and really like the tenets that have made us successful, because there's, many podcasts worth of stuff that I could probably share.
Right.
But, I think, what I hear from residents most of all, I think, is that they love our downtown and they love our small businesses, right? It's something that really sets us apart as a community, is that we have like a shared space, like the restaurants, the shops, they're a sense of pride for our community.
Right.
They're places that we go to celebrate birthdays and graduations, and they're like moments in our life. And, there are people that work there that own those places that are really like living out their dreams, right? So it's just a real sense of pride and opportunity for us as a community. I think it's something that drives our economic engine, because I think it draws people to our town. It makes our residents more desirable, our residences more desirable. It increases our property values, right? And these are all things that are good goals for, our community. And then, it also is something that we're passionate about as well. And, so it really is, I think, making sure that continues to grow, that we can continue to add businesses, that we can continue to keep the businesses that we have, right?
Right. Yeah, because our downtown is extremely unique.
Yes.
And we've talked to many people, from Sean Vogel to all of these people, on how our downtown is so unique because it's not on a main road, right? And most people that drive through Grayslake, unless you've been down Center Street to basically the village center, right? If you've never been there, people think, Grayslake is just what it is driving down 83 or 45 or 120 in Washington Street. That it's kind of hidden, and it's amazing to me that we've done so well with that. It's extremely unique.
It is, and it's something we have to keep moving forward, right? And I think part of that, too, is like the community improvements that we're able to do. Mm-hmm. So things like the Gelatin Park and the new nature trail, we've been able to do infrastructure improvements, and so all of that kind of flows from our like good finances that we do. Mm-hmm. And then we're able to then make investments in the community, right? And so people, I think, look forward to those. One of my favorite meetings is our capital meeting, where we get to decide which projects move forward.
Fun.
And, that's a good outflow of like us, like budgeting to spend only 85% of our unpredictable revenue. We don't want to be 100% leveraged out when it comes to our budget. If we have a major infrastructure fail, we lose a sales tax contributor, we still need to be able to police. We need to be able to pick up garbage. We need to be able to resurface roads. We need, these are things that we need to continue to do. So that is a good financial practice, not to be 100% leveraged. And what that does then is it also allows us to, when things go well, we have, a small amount of money to put back into the community. And so we get to decide what those are and make improvements to our infrastructure, make improvements to our shared environment. So I think people enjoy seeing that.
Absolutely.
I know people are really excited about that new nature trail that we've been working on.
Okay, so here's something funny. Before we came here today to record, because I don't know if no one's listened to Elizabeth's last podcast, which we did, a year and a half ago, probably. I think that's right where whatever we're doing at the nature trail was stopped because of the bat.
Yeah.
But you were just announcing that was going to happen. So the progress in that time, you guys have done a wonderful job at that.
Yeah, and we've been able to do it like as a pay-as-you-go without going into debt, without being able to borrow it. So when we have those bigger projects, we're able to break them up into like smaller chunks so we can still achieve them on that in that good sense of financial responsibility that we've always had at the village, right? And so very exciting. We actually are in the midst of planting 300 trees.
I just saw you post that.
Yeah.
I saw 300 trees. Yes. I actually saw the trees over there driving down Center, and I went, oh my gosh, where are they going to put these?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really beautiful there.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of public service, it's a little of like a nuance here, but like when you serve, you're like kind of planting roots that people will see years down the road. And I've always been thankful for previous boards and previous mayors that have really set such a good foundation, right? Mm-hmm. And so that we get to see like the fruit of that. Yeah. And so it's like the idea of planting trees, I think it's kind of a little, apropos is like, you're setting down roots of things that people you're going to want to see generations to come. And that's really something I think about with the village, right? How do we build an enduring, lasting village? How do we set those roots and can continue that base that our town is just going to flourish for generations and be that special place that we all love?
Right. And because we already are so special, and the things that they're constantly improving, and I love that you have the vision to keep moving forward, right? Because we can always be better, we can always improve, and which also helps all residents from, like you talk, like property values and things that go up like that. Anything else? Any other secrets that you have of big improvements that are coming out that we should look out for?
Well, we're doing some major work in like the downtown area. If you've seen like the traffic cones and those things along those lines. So we're going to be, burying the power lines in the north alley. And so, we did that in the south alley, and that was like such a great project. And that was something that was kind of accomplished at the very beginning of my 10 years of service, right? And it's like, well, this is such a successful thing. We should do it in the north alley,
Right.
And so, these things take a long time to accomplish. So we've been saving money to complete this project. We've completed other projects that we had in the line already, the docket of our 10-year kind of improvement plan for the downtown. And then, you line up this project, and then you fund the project, and you work with ComEd. And so sometimes these things, go a little bit slowly, but really excited. I always say that when that first power line gets buried down there, I'm going to have to like pop a bottle of champagne because it'll be something that I kind of actually started. I really spoke for at the beginning of my term, right? And so it'll just see it come to fruition will be great. So the burying of the power lines, putting a little bit of green space in that little area there. We'll have a little strip right along the road where by the tables are, so that there'll be a little green space next to the tables. We'll restripe it, kind of make that whole area kind of a new little improved downtown space. So that's exciting.
So burying the power lines, is that cosmetic, or is there form or function, or is it a little of both?
It's both. Yeah, it's definitely both. I mean, obviously, those are very old and they have lots of transformers and things on them. And so when you're sitting at the freeze or you're there, it's not the most sightly thing, but also the power reliability to our downtown businesses is really important. If a business loses a day of sales, that's a really big deal to them.
Huge.
So, by burying it, the power lines won't be susceptible to storms, and so they'll have a more reliable continuation of service down there. So it's a little both sides there. So.
Yeah. And until that, I heard that you're burying the power lines. I was at the freeze and I was looking over it. And I guess I never realized how unsightly the alleyway with all the lines were until somebody said it. And I looked and I went, yeah, I guess I just looked past that from now. But yeah, if you guys are looking around, look at them before they bury them. I want to see the before or after. It's crazy how cool it's going to look. I
think it'll be a really success. I mean, you think about it, probably everybody that visits Grayslake is in the freeze parking lot at some point or another. Right. And if you're talking about aesthetics of town, that's a spot that a lot of people are looking. So it's not a bad place to be. But, it's again, the investment in the downtown is something that we just want to continue to keep moving forward on. How can we make that space be the most attractive to businesses, the most attractive for people to come visit? It really, I think, is one of those drivers of our economic engine. So,
hey neighbors, this is Bill Mock with the Grayslake Chamber of Commerce. And if you're looking for a network of hard-working, customer-focused, and generally friendly local businesses who are dedicated to helping each other succeed, then I'd like to invite you to check out and consider joining our Grayslake Chamber. We offer our members so many ways to advance their businesses through social networking events, special event sponsorships, informative lunch and learns, and the ever-popular after-hours mixers. Come see why we say we're the new wave of business here in Lake County.
Well, I'm really pleased that the election results. I'm very happy that you are a mayor. Also, I like people that are in the community, with kids here. You really have I see you out to eat. I see you guys in town. So you do have a pulse on what's going on, right? So you're not just doing this from the outside, because you're in the thick of things.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that is a piece, I said, raising 3 kids, certainly busy in the community, but I think that also is what makes me a great representative. My experience is the experience of residents from all levels of being here, right? And it also makes me more accessible, right? I can see people out, they can chat with me about things.
Right.
I've had great conversations at the pool, great conversations at the baseball fields, right? Those are the spaces where people are, and those are the spaces that I am. So I think it helps me be a more accessible and transparent leader. And it's something that I'm really hoping to be able to continue. So I'm always happy to meet a resident for coffee, chat on the phone.
Better watch what you say. Your phone's going to be lighting up.
Well, I think,
lots of coffees to be had.
Yeah, I think but I think that's something that people know, in my 10 years of service, that's something that I have done, and I think it's a really important thing. And I think that's part of why people feel comfortable with me taking over that space, is that they know that I have an open mind and open heart. It's, really one of the things I think that's the most important thing about being a representative is being willing to listen, to have an open door to your residents, right? Because that's really what this role is. It's being a being a conduit for our residents to feel involved, to feel understood, and to feel part of what's going on in their village.
Absolutely. No, and it does make people comfortable. I've had the unique pleasure to talk to about 130 different either businesses or people from town. So I think I have a unique, and anybody that listens to the show, like it's really cool for me to meet somebody in a park or somebody that I've never met before and say, hey, I've been listening to the show and I've learned all this stuff about Grayslake. So from my perspective, like hearing you speak and seeing what's happening in our town, or really having like the opinions of small business owners and things and where things are going, makes me even more happy that you're where you're at now and your vision of moving forward. So I appreciate that very much.
I appreciate that. All of the congratulations and sentiment really is just so touching, because we have amazing residents in town. We have very talented residents in town. And, I will say, that I am going to work hard to honor those words and honor the support that I've had. It's interesting because when you run an election, a campaign, they have, it's kind of a big deal, right? And, I do this in a nonpartisan way because I feel like that's the best way to represent our town, and also that's the way they are supposed to be. They're independent races, and, I run it that way, right? So, I don't have, large support, outside of me. I say like I'm a mom with a minivan and a Canva account. From there,
That's awesome.
I'm my own like website designer, my own like digital media creator, my own, well, my husband's my videographer, right? But, those things like that. So it's a very like organic thing. I have a campaign like account with the state, and it's called Friends for Elizabeth Davies. And I like kind of laugh because it literally is my friends, like
really
that.
Is.
It really is. It's like, my friends that have just been come along with me along the way and have been just so supportive. I'm just overwhelmed by that, and that people would see me in that role. And so like I say, I'm going to work hard to honor that because I feel that responsibility. Yeah. I know how big of a job this is, and the responsibility, I feel it. And, all I'm going to say is like, I'm a hard worker and I'm going to work hard to honor that support. And so I hope that when I'm done, that people will look at that and be as equally as pleased with me at the end of my term as they have been as supportive as this. And so that's a tall order, though, I will say.
It is. And I love that you recognizing you're not walking anything lightly, because you already know. I mean, you have so much 10 years of experience it's crazy to see probably all the things you've already seen. Yeah. I was talking to a couple of my friends and said, well, what should I talk to Elizabeth about? And, of course, the one thing that I do want to just touch on, because they said you'd geek out about it.
Oh, yes.
And the guy listening right now knows who he is. You know him very well, too.
Yeah.
He says, just make sure that you touch on water. Did you already know that we're going to talk about water?
No, I didn't, but I love to geek out on all things. So, yeah. I mean, we just one of the things is like, as our village, like we have to deliver like certain services, right? So we are, essential services, I would say. So policing, garbage removal, water delivery, right? All of these things, like we cannot function if like that's like interrupted, right? So we always want to make sure that we are delivering the highest quality services to our residents. And one of those things is water. And it was interesting for me to like learn a little bit. So our CLC Jawa Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency representative. So 30-ish years ago, the village started with a number of communities their own water plant on Lake Michigan. And so what that did is that secured Lake Michigan water rights for our village. And that's a humongous deal, because the Great Lakes are the highest quality surface water on the planet.
Okay? All right.
And then when and so, I mean, that's like a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And then our plant that we started in cooperation with some other communities like Libertyville, Lake Bluff, Gurnee, some other places that are in there, is the highest tech water plant on the lake. Okay, so we have the highest quality surface water, the highest tech, and then we have replaced the piping that comes from Lake Michigan, all the mains and stuff that have come in. We've got those completely replaced and up to date. So I think it's safe to say that we have the highest quality drinking water on the planet coming right here to Grayslake. So
see, and most people take that for granted, right? But it's really cool that you know all that about that. And we were one of the first. So decisions that went into that have changed a lot of things, right? Yeah.
I mean, the water that comes from Lake Michigan into our comes out of our faucet is cleaner than bottled water. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it is. So like when you get a bottle of water, right? And the seal is not as not hermetically sealed, so you have things that like leach in or things along those lines. But yes, our water is better than that. So
wow, Elizabeth is not sponsored by a water company right now, a bottled water company. Really? So that's interesting to know.
Yeah, and I think what it is it's just an example about how like forward-thinking, good government can really provide great services to residents, and we've had a history of that. Now, you always have like water main breaks here or there, and you can see that happens. I mean, we have a 125-year-old town, and our water infrastructure has been almost completely replaced. So if you would look at another 125-year-old town, that would not really be the case, right? So we have really stayed on top of our infrastructure, and we are really committed to delivering quality services to our residents, and that's something as mayor that will be a big priority to me, is we want to have as little interrupted service as we can and the best services that we can to our residents.
Nice. I like what you say, because I think that when you look back even from the water situation, it's like-minded people that made these decisions years and years ago, and that you understand the decisions that you're making now are going to affect our community 25 years, 30 years from now, right?
Just like planting the trees, right? You're planting them now, and then what will it be when it comes? And I've been very thankful for the good leadership that we've had, and I just have a lot of institutional knowledge about what those decisions were. All people do different amounts of work when it comes to service, and it's not that the amount of work makes you a better representative or not. People have their own methods, but one thing I really have done is really learned a lot about like the history of decisions and a lot about like the historical knowledge of town. And so that is something that I'm bringing into the office. I think that's unique. It's hard to quantify, but as I can share lots of stories about lots of decisions that have been made and, how those things have worked. I've also overlapped my service, with a number of wonderful representatives. And so take a little piece of everybody I've served with right into my decision making.
Right. Now, how closely do you work with, so people understand that maybe don't understand fully how everything goes, like with the trustees? Like, how does that all work with communication and decision making in our town?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So you have interviewed our administrator, right? And so I think that's something for people to know, is that this isn't a full-time position. This is really a citizen position. It's a citizen role. So I will continue to teach. Like, that's my full-time job. And I think it's really kind of special, actually, that, these offices are not like careers, right? It's really just a level of service to our community. So, and it's some people coach, some people are on the PTO, there's different ways that people have served. Some people serve on the school board. And so this is just an awesome way in which I get to serve the community. And really, I get to receive so much back in the service, as always, as you know. I
think the way it's set up, we get more genuine leadership, right? People that want to do it rather than there's ulterior motives of any other sort.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that this is the most rewarding level of government that you could probably be a part of. And it is really just working with, like you said, like-minded people. And I think one of the most important things about being a representative at this level is that, like, you're ambitious for the town, not yourself. And that you are looking for what's best for the town, right? And you don't have other kind of ideas. And sometimes when you get into, I think, other levels, they can be a little different. So I think when you get public servants like we've had on the board, it's a really special thing. So
it really is. And I want to make sure that everybody realizes how special our trustees are as well, like going into this, because these people also are dedicating a lot of time to make serious decisions and staying educated about things so that we get the right decisions made, right?
Yeah. I mean, the board that's up there right now is just an amazing group of people, and they actually have like really neat like backgrounds. They all bring like a different perspective. It's very well balanced.
Crazy different people, right?
Yeah. It's really well balanced, Yeah. Sean's an engineer, like Kevin's he's a small business owner. He does plowing himself. He does lots of things like on the way, so he brings a lot of base of knowledge. Zoe is like a veteran that really has been such an advocate for that community. Pete's an attorney, so he brings that peace of mind. And then I love working with Bill, who is like a banker and understands businesses and investments and just kind of knows just about every single person, I feel like, in the whole area here. And then also just really knowledgeable on a lot of different issues. And so when you work, the board works best when it works as a team. And I just really thankful for the team that's up there and really excited to work with them and just really kind of look at all of these pieces and vision it, because we all want to like leave it better than we found it. We all want to make the right decisions, and these are important decisions. And so it's great to have conversations and really kind of work through these things. I'm a very collaborative person, and And working with such great people, I think, is a real bonus. So
yeah, and it must be fun because they're your peers, right? So you worked with these people in their positions. But now moving into this one, it's nice because you can make more of a difference and really kind of help shape everything, how everything works.
Yeah, I was really honored by all of their support to be in this position.
It's a big honor, right?
Yes, absolutely, because they're all such talented people and they understand it. And so I think it's really out of the desire for us to be able to continue the success. We appreciated Mayor Taylor's leadership, and like you said, it's a big change. And I think what comforts people is the fact that I have so much knowledge.
Yes.
And I am very affirmative of the things that we have done, while still keeping an eye that we can always grow. Right? Sure. In education, you will say, it's like a growth mindset. It's like if you don't do something, maybe it's just you don't do it yet. So like I'll have a student say, I don't understand something. I'm like, no, it's just that you don't understand it yet. Like it's a very important word, like the power of yet, right? That we can still grow as a village. And I think it's important that we still keep that. It's not, I talk about how successful we are because it's unique. Like it's something to be mentioned. We are one of the only towns our size that's debt free, right? And so that means more money reaches our community. We run balanced budgets. We have a highly funded police pension. We have a regular road resurfacing program. Some of those things are things that are not in regular budgets of other municipalities. They've had to raise taxes or look for ways to raise funds. We are not in that situation, right? So we're a completely really well-run municipality, but that doesn't mean that we're going to sit back and just say, as a mayor, like, we did it. We've accomplished it. We're done. No, we're going to keep going, and so that's, continually to invest in our downtown, potentially bringing that branding that's in the downtown out, right? Can we bring what's going on in Center Street? Can we bring it north? Can we bring it out center? Can we bring it up and down 83? And so those are kind of the things that are always in my mind about how do we continue to grow. And something I've realized from the 10 years that I've been on there is that we have to be ready for those opportunities, right? And so, as we go north, like, who knows what's going to come next, what the next opportunity is, like even right. Like even the nature trail, right? And so we have our downtown, and now we're kind of extending out, we can go even further with that. And so it's really just that mind of looking for those opportunities about how we will continue to grow in the tenants that have made us successful.
Interesting.
So keeping those pieces, but moving it forward. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons why people supported me, right? Is that I understand that what's made us successful, but I can build on that too.
Sure. I love the power of yet.
Yes.
Because at one point, no one thinks somebody's going to come up with a new idea or a new thing to build or something that will improve our town. But that idea or that decision or that project hasn't started yet. Yeah.
So I one of the things I would say on that part, like we have a pretty significant development that is looking to come in the south part of Grayslake. And so, this is something that was set in line before Mayor Taylor was mayor, right? That we've been working on. So this is like 20 years advanced, but it's like the Central Range area that's like south of Allegheny Park, right? And so that's like an area in Grayslake that is unbuilt and a space for, potential property tax diversification. Because we do want to try to, wherever we can, take the burden off of homeowners. We hear it, we understand it, we're very cognizant of as a board. We have a limited ability to affect it, but we try everywhere we can, right? And so that area down south has always been an area that's looked at for property tax diversification, right? And so we've had T5, which first we had Medline, and Medline came in. We smartly used the connection fees from Medline to build a water tower and to complete like the infrastructure that's down there.
Right.
Okay, and so this is how good begets good, and it's exponential growth here. You're making me sound like I'm in my classroom, but how we were able to use it, and we had specific conversations like, okay, with this connection fees, how can we pay ourselves many times over with this? Like, what are those pieces? And so really, to a degree we never expected. So once that field now is complete with infrastructure, we've gotten some investment from a company called T5, which is a big center that's big development that houses data centers. So it's like the physical manifestation of the clouds right down there. So so those will come in, and those are a really big deal. It's an $8.5 billion investment going into Little Grayslake, just south of Allegheny Park. And so here we have now this like really advanced development that's in there. So when I started on the board, data centers weren't even something anybody even knew about. Right. They really didn't exist. So you're building this space not knowing necessarily what's going in, but you're using like best practices and this idea of like, okay, we're going to hopefully get some, good property tax diversification. And so then now we have something going in there that nobody would have ever envisioned, right?
Because you couldn't, right?
You wouldn't know
the future, right?
Yeah. And so, it's just at a moment in time that it was just meant to be. And so now we at Grayslake will have probably one of the biggest data center campuses in the world.
Wow. And it's out so far that it's like a different part of Grayslake, right?
Yeah, it is. Like we kind of have like a comprehensive plan that kind of has like a hometown Grayslake, and so we really protect the home and special piece of it. And then that particular place is a little bit removed. Yeah. And what's really nice about the data centers and some of the things that people are unaware of is that they do not use this, specifically T5, does not use the water usage that they once did. So that Lake Michigan water allotment, people are right to be concerned about because it's a humongous value. We have a great allotment, no problems there. But you want to make sure you're doing a good job. And so, this is going to be a vast campus, but they do not use water to cool the electronics and such. So that's something. And then the other thing that's two other things are probably, I think, good in the overall benefit for the community is that it will not bring a large traffic impact. Okay, so that's really nice because it won't overtax our roads. We won't have to be developing it. It won't cause traffic and congestion. So to have an $8.5 billion investment without major traffic impact is huge.
Right.
Yes. And then, so that's, I think, something that's pretty
that's
good for us.
Okay, so with having Medline there and then the T5, because that data center, will that attract more people because there's more land out there, right?
Yeah.
This might attract more.
Yeah,
things like that.
Well, so this is like, right now they have a plan. We've approved like 11 of them. They have a plan now for 18, maybe 20 of them.
Holy
right?
smokes.
So it's a pretty big deal what's going down there. And so there is other land that is down there that, some is, unincorporated, some is Mundelein, some is us, right? And so that will remain to be seen where all of the different pieces will end up.
Sure.
But this also will, for the Cornerstone property, there was housing that was originally a part of like that, which looks like it's going to be other things, right? And so that's good for property tax diversification as well, because the more we can have non-residential business paying our property taxes, the better.
Right.
So,
wow, that's and I don't think people understand how big that is. But when you see that, it's
I think the
enormous.
Entire built. I would need John Vogel next to me to be the total historian on this.
Crazy stuff.
I'm pretty good, but
right.
If I need to ask somebody, I'm like Sean.
Right, exactly.
But I think it's the total built assessed value in Grayslake is $2 billion.
Wow.
And so this is an $8.5 million investment.
Yeah, that puts things in perspective, right?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Like, municipalities would hope to have one data center. And so we're looking at getting, anyone that's built is amazing. So
that's fantastic. What a cool, exciting thing. And, I get to be in the know on a lot of things and hear about all this stuff, but I'm like the average resident that doesn't really know what's going on because, we pay attention to what's important to us, right?
Yeah.
Like we take the water for granted. We take the improvements for granted. People usually only speak up, and why I would never want your position is it's like writing a review. If things are absolutely fantastic, but little things can irritate people, and then they want to know, like, why are they taking all the manholes out and like they don't. It's progress, right? There's things that have to be done.
I think that's one of the challenges as a representative is to really kind of navigate what is like largely, what is being shouted and what is being said, right? Because people will react to things. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that. I want to be there to hear it. But I also want to get to like the nuts and bolts of like what is like the major issue and like what can we do if we can do anything to fix it, right?
Sure.
So, that is something that I've learned in 10 years. Is to kind of get to like the heart of an issue and to not be distracted by just the loudness of an issue, but really to look at like the details of it.
I love the shouting to what's being talked about. And with that being said, if I could be so bold to encourage people that are very quick to go on the internet, whether it's a town page, whatever, to criticize in public, to ask questions, when we have such a government put in place that you guys are willing to talk about things. So I wanted to urge everybody with caution to read all of those pages and see what is actually fact and what isn't, especially when we have open door policy with even Elizabeth to say, if you want to talk about something, we're happy to talk about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that that'll be something that I will attempt to kind of venture into as mayor. Is I know people they really care about town. They want to have information about town.
Yeah.
Where you get that information has kind of changed over the years. So as mayor, how will I be able to communicate that? Like that's something that people have chatted with me about, and something I'm going to. I love chatting about these things, and so I can love to. And here we are in this little podcast. I feel like I've talked about so many different pieces,
right.
And there's so much information
right.
that when it comes to honestly like putting something out on like print or internet, it's just so nuanced and there's so much to it. I really enjoy having a conversation because these things are really in depth and there's so many facets. I think that's one thing, like when you start, you have no idea how multifaceted the Village's program is, so, I mean, you have to be an expert on water, you have to be an expert on police, you have to be an expert on development. There's all these different things, property taxes, how that all gets assessed and how we can affix it, building a downtown, sending zoning, how do all these pieces that it's just hard to put it all out there on like a social media post, right? So I want to always interject a little bit in there, but I also it's also very hard to do in that sense,
Sure.
So that's why I am available, and I'm also thinking about and considering those ways that I can speak and interject and have people, because people just want to know. And sometimes when I see things, I'm like, and I want to just have the correct understanding out there. So I appreciate those suggestions from people on, and I'm thinking about that, as a mayor, how do I connect best with the community?
Sure.
Hearing from them, being able to explain all of those pieces. I think that's a big part of being mayor and something I'm going to be looking at.
Right. Well, and if you think about the difference of communication, how you communicate with the public in 2025 rather than maybe when Rhett started 16 years ago, like it's completely different.
Yeah.
So there's different ways, good and bad, right? But there may be some other ways too. But I like that you're still looking forward to even in your communication with the public too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm good at like Facebook, a little bit of Instagram or things along those lines, I try, but, I use the help from my daughter. Sometimes I'm like, hey, want to help me with this?
Right. That's hilarious.
So it is helpful, but you want to be where the people are, right? Like I said, like being at the pool, being at baseball fields, like people are in the social media realms. That is where people get information. And so, I have always been committed to being in the spaces that people are. Right. And so that is something like I'm going to be looking at and envisioning, how do we do that as mayor? Now, when you're a mayor, you have a little bit more responsibility than you do as a trustee because you speak for the whole board.
Right.
So you have to be a little bit more cautious on that. And so a little bit of this beginning part will be me kind of understanding the nuances of that, because the last thing I want to do is hurt our town, right? And so I'm going to be extremely cautious when it comes to communication. I have an absolute desire, open heart to share, everything, but there are things that, like I don't want to hurt a potential development if I'm supposed to not say what's going on at that space, because there's things along those lines that I'm going to have to be measured on. And so that's, I think, part of it is sometimes I'll see things and it's like, I don't know if it's the right time to speak on that yet. Right. It's that yet piece. It's not that I don't want to, and but it's just that there are sometimes intricacies of like a person's ability to put an offer on a property without other competition that I'm not going to, so there's pieces to it. But I think in general, like, always trying to assume the best, because we have great people up there, that are doing this out of, their love for town and serving in this way, and so I always wish that like people just in general, I think sometimes it gets lost a little bit online, but to assume the best of somebody and give them a chance, to explain. So anyways, long answer to the fact that communication is important.
Yes.
You're really great at communication. You understand all the facets of it, and it's something I'm going to be hopefully, increasing for our town.
Yeah, because a lot of those answers aren't one-word answers that are put out there, and there's a lot of things that go into it.
Yes.
And I love it. All right. Because of time-wise, the one thing is talk about how you have to be careful of your communication. So I want to do a thing we call the Grayslake hot seat with you. Really put you on to see what. Okay, so the last time we did this about a year and a half ago, there's one thing about Elizabeth you need to know, that I think the last time we did it, I would say like, Elizabeth, do you like the color red or green better? And you would answer with like, well, I think they're equally good. I like both of them for the holiday. So Well, I appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And you know what? From your job to, even our chief of police, I think it's really fun that I like doing things like this because I think it humanizes the little thing better. Anybody that knows you're just another member of our community with a very important role right now, right? But I like to ask questions like this because it brings up, some of your personality too.
Love it.
All right. So I have a couple different ones from last time we did this. The Grayslake Hot Seat is brought to you by Joe Velez at JPV Financial. It's often said that those who fail to plan are planning to fail. Joe Velez and his team at JPV Financial create unique financial plans that address some of the most difficult challenges that people might face as they get older. No matter what stage of life you're in, having a proactive financial plan can help navigate some of the difficult decisions you'll face, helping you live your life by design, not default. Securities and investment advisory service offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Now for the Grayslake Hot Seat. Hey, thanks, Joe. When meeting somebody, what impresses you about someone?
I think it's their smile, their presence, their ability to connect with people. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. I always love when somebody doesn't look to the next person in the room. Right, when somebody gives their undivided attention to you,
yes,
and listens to you and is not talking over you or looking to the next conversation, right? I think that's something that is lost by a lot of people, and so I've seen that, and I saw that once in a particular person, and I'm like, wow, this person's really important, and he made that person feel like they were the most important person in the room for 10 minutes. You would think that they would, and I was like, this is a great communicator.
Okay, and that is such a great life lesson for any kids or young adults, taking the time to not don't think of the next question or what you're going to do, but give somebody your undivided attention.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm on the doorstep, I work a long time to connect and see somebody. And so I'm going to spend the time with the person that's in front of me and really chat these things out. I love it, not looking, I've got another door to get to or another door to get to. This is the moment that I've worked hard to get, is to be one-on-one with a resident and hear from them.
You're right where you planned on being, right? And we need to all realize that in our lives, look around and make sure that it's there. Okay. So far, if your life was a book, right up to this point, what would it be called? What would the title be?
Oh, gosh. Oh, God. I don't know. A mom with a minivan and a Canva account? I don't know.
Actually, I love that.
Let's see.
Bestseller.
I think it would be joyful service, because I've been able to, I've really found a lot of joy in teaching and helping my kids get to where they are and serving the town. It's been, I think I do it with a level of happiness, I think because I enjoy it, but it's also brought me a lot of joy. So
joyful service.
Yeah, I hope I'm able to do that and yeah.
It's very admirable. Book too. All right, if you had a boat, what would you name it?
Oh, goodness. A boat, what would I name it? I'd probably end up naming it after my children, Mm-hmm. Or I guess I would say maybe work hard, play hard.
Okay. I like that too.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy life. I get to enjoy it with great friends, a great husband, sister, brother, family and stuff. And so we work really hard, Brian and I. We get to serve a lot of people, and it gives us joy, and then we also get to enjoy that. So I guess that's always kind of our thing. So
I love it. Your husband's one of my favorite people, by the way.
Me too.
That's a good thing. I love this question that I haven't really done very much. Tell me about an experience that you've had that you thought was really bad, but ended turning out being very good. I know it's a hard one on the spot.
No, let me think about it for a second. An experience that was really bad that turned out being very good. I mean, I always hold on to the idea that you are where you are for a reason, and those pieces that have gotten you to where you are that's there. But we were chatting a little bit before about another love of mine, which is sports,
Yes.
And my daughter, we were just going through a recruiting journey, and we were just chatting about how she was supposed to go to one softball camp, and she was really excited for it, and a big snowstorm came in and she couldn't go,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's you think at first this is really bad, why did this storm have to come through, we had been planning on
it's
this.
A disaster.
This is the only one that'll be there before her recruiting window opens, and then And then, so she ended up going to a different camp that same weekend that was closer by, and that ended up being the school that was like a perfect fit for her and loves it. So, there's a lot of things like that in life where you think like this is a miss and then something better comes along, right? And so I think that's always like a good lesson is that like, and I think that even in like the village, right, even from a municipal government stuff, sometimes if something doesn't happen, you just have to have confidence that like the more inevitable thing will be there. Like even with like the data centers, we've had like other things or interest or trying, and then all of a sudden, now that hadn't come, and now we've got something that's probably even better. So yeah, that's just a perspective to keep.
It is a very good perspective. Yeah, then you don't get too upset about everything, especially if you're optimistic that something else good is coming. Most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show. What kind of music do you listen to?
I really like kind of like I think of a high octane life sometimes, so I really like to like chill and hang out when we do. Like I always love like Norah Jones's voice, or just that like kind of that big bands and that old stuff. Like I guess like the crooner people, crooners, and then sometimes Brian and I will listen to when we're chilling like yacht rock, and I know that's like not the edgiest thing. That's something about me. I'm not the edgiest person.
Well, the rest of your life gets to be crazy. You can relax when you listen to music.
Yeah, I also always tease that I donated all the musical ability in my family down the gene pool to my brother. So yeah, that was not my I did the sports and he did the music, right? So it was always interesting. Like I was doing sports and my the football coach asked like, when is your brother coming to school? Because I did them all. Hilarious. And like, and he was a band person, right? So it's one of those things. But so he is excellent at that. I go to him for musical advice. Don't ask me what I'm listening to.
That is funny. Tell me about a hidden talent that you have, something that nobody knows you're great at.
Yeah, I'm a great high jumper.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I never known that.
Yeah, no, I was all state for high jump. I did the heptathlon in college, so 7 track events. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a nickname?
Beth. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a dangerous one to put out in here, too. Are you superstitious at all?
No.
Have you ever broken a bone?
No, but I, have tore up my knee doing track. So,
yes. I can't see some of these. I'm not going to ask you. Do you have a go-to karaoke song? I think that you need to do like a celebrity appearance at like Charlie's on a Thursday night to come in and sing a karaoke song.
Yeah, that is something I don't think people would want to hear.
That is not on your bucket list of things to do.
To the point of donating all the musical ability down the gene pool. That's,
right. Sorry, that was yes.
But I would, I'm always up to do something once. That's what I tell my kids.
Nice. Have you ever met a celebrity?
No, not really. Yeah, I met somebody from the Sports Center once. I feel like once that we were out at doing something, but no, I haven't really.
I always ask this question because I never know what stories I get, and people sit back and go, "Oh yeah, oh wait, no, I haven't really met so and so." Okay, well, we're in Grayslake. You never know. They'll start coming this way. Last thing that you Google searched.
A wedding gift for my niece. Engagement gift for my niece is what I was doing this morning, making sure I get that out in timely fashion because supporting the people in your life is the most important part, right? Yes. And so, we're doing a lot of things as parents and professionals and in service to the community, but always want to make sure that I'm making sure that my family is well taken care of, right? Yeah. And so that's the thing I want to keep my eye on the most. And I feel like, with the good support system I have, it's something I can continue to do and serve the community. And so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have a very important job, and we're really happy to have you. I'm very, really happy to have you here. So is there anything as we close that you want our community to know or any message you want to send out to them? And I just want to let you know I appreciate your time, too.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to people that believed in me, people that see me in this role, people that went out to vote. I just am overwhelmed and honored by the support. And like I say, I'm going to work really hard to honor it. And I really am hoping to build a community, a better community for us, and to work together with everybody to make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And please know that you can count on me for any message you want to deliver to the community or whatever I can do to help. Because I think that we're very like-minded and that we're building community every single day, right? So I love it. So thank you, Beth. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for what you do, Dave. This is really wonderful. We've just enjoyed listening to all of your podcasts. Absolutely.
Thank you. And Grayslake, hey, thank you guys for listening so much. Do me a favor, wherever you guys are listening, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on wherever the heck you're listening, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, because that way every Tuesday you'll get an alert of a new member of our community that we get to sit down and talk to. And the other thing, as we always end, we never know what our friends or family, strangers are going through. So get out there, do 1, 2 different random acts of kindness. It literally takes seconds to do, and you can change somebody's day completely around. So go out there and do something good, Grayslake. So Elizabeth, thank you very much. Grayslake, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday, everybody.